come around and power up again. Use that rudder to keep the nose pointed towards the sky. We'll do a nice little spin for you there. And we can power up.
Hello pilots, welcome back to Motion RC. I'm James with another build assembly video of the version 2 Freewing 80mm Mirage 2000. Now, a couple months ago, we released this V2. This is one of the older models in the Freewing lineup. I mean, the box art behind me still shows 4S version and what the original 6S version had. That was a 12-bladed system. A couple months ago, as we opened the EU, we wanted to make some modifications and some upgrades to some of our older models, like the ME262 last year got a power upgrade, and then we just upgraded the livery. The Spitfire, we released some 3D printed clip wing sets, so you could take your Spitfire and turn it from, you know, one version to a clip wing version. And then the Mirage got the biggest change because it was both livery and a power system upgrade. So now, as you saw in the flight review a couple months back, Alpha, our project manager, who he works hand in hand with Freewing and helps design a lot of these models, he did the flight review for this, and with this new power system, the 9-bladed fan, just so much more efficient. You're able to get a lot more of that high alpha, just a different flying feel than what you get on most jets, and a lot more power, obviously, than the Mirage used to have. One of our friends, our good buddy, George Baker, he was with us down at Joe Knoll in the fall, and he had this there, and he was hand launching this thing. This is an 80mm jet, but even with a battery in it, which I have, it's pretty light, and you could chuck this thing, and it has more than enough thrust to get up and go. And being that it's only about the size of, like, let's say the BAE Hawk, which is a 70mm fan. So with the 80mm fan on a model this size, it's also one of the fastest jets in the Freewing lineup now with the new upgraded system. Now, back then, we never had a chance to do a build video, so that's why we're here today. I got one in. I'm excited to finally get a chance to fly this thing, but we definitely wanted to show you a build. So if you're interested in the Freewing Mirage, they're available now in the US website, and they'll be arriving at the EU warehouse very soon. So we're hoping our EU friends are gonna love the new scheme. Out of the box, you're not gonna have to do anything with decals. Nobody would want to put this gigantic decal on their plane anyway, so that's all pre-applied. You have nothing to worry about as far as that. All the stickers already on it, so that's good. We have a removable nose cone right up front, which is mostly foam, but it does have a plastic tip, and then you're adding just a pitot tube in the front. I am upside down, and it goes back on. Very nice, strong magnets. Trailing link suspension, which you can see, if you hit the deck a little too hard, you have more than enough to help you out in that front, and the landing gear is very nice. Gigantic magnetically attached drop tanks, which are scale for the model, but probably if you're going to be doing a lot of the fun flying, I know like George doesn't even include them because they are going to create some drag, but for all you scale guys, you're going to have a lot of fun with those. And then also, one of the things about this model too, as you guys might have noticed with a lot of our latest releases from both Freewing and Flightline, Alpha's been working hand in hand doing a lot of 3D printed parts. And this one does have a 3D printed cockpit set, so if you guys really want to get in there, you basically replace everything in the cockpit. And the beauty about the 3D printed parts is, this cockpit is made of foam. Our newer releases like the L39, the F22 have plastic now lined. We're starting to do that more in Freewing models, but being that this is still an older model, you would get the bubbling in the canopy, but if you replace those parts with the 3D printed parts, then you can avoid all that and have yourself just a fantastic flyer. Now, obviously, this is an Elevon setup. There are no flaps, there are no, there's no elevator, there's no horizontal stab or anything, so you're setting this up like basically like a wing with a rudder. So just make sure you're ready for that. If you haven't done that, depending on whatever transmitter you have, you want to definitely check how to set that up, but it's pretty standard. So one wing will have a labeled aileron, and the other wing is labeled elevator. So just make sure you plug those into the proper ports and do the proper mix. So again, let's just run through the rest of the spec. The motor in this is now a 3530 1900 kV brushless outrunner. It has a 100 amp ESC with a 5 amp BEC. It has 4 9-gram digital servos inside. Again, the 9-bladed 80mm EDF unit. And its wingspan is going to be 31 inches, or that's 790 millimeters, and the length will be 49 inches and 1250 millimeters. But now let's get into the rest of this video. We're gonna do an unboxing. We'll take you back in time. I'll show you each piece as it comes out of the box. Then we're gonna go step by step through the manual for the build, and then you'll come back to me here and I'll just run around the landing gear, show you how that works and functions, and then we'll wrap this video up. So let's get started with the unboxing. Alright guys, so upon unboxing, you'll see the box art has stayed the same, so it still shows the 4S system and the old 6S system. Disregard that. When you open the box, you'll see the manual has updated the power system and the settings, and we also gave you a little piece of paper that shows you the improvements and what's been upgraded here. So then taking everything out of the box. Now this one, the retracts on the main wings, the main gear, they don't come pre-installed, so they come out as you can see here. You've got your 2 main wings, and they look great with those tiger eyes already included. Again, you don't have to do anything for the decals. And you have your main wing spar. Then you got your baggie. That's going to have a lot of your peripherals that you're going to install. So your side force generators, things like that. And it has your screws, your pitot tube, all the miscellaneous stuff. Next out of the box is the vertical stabilizer, the rudder servo already attached, control rods already attached, so there's nothing to do here, and even better, that big decal is already pre-applied. The next box, because it's 2 foam pieces, this is where you're going to find your nose cone, you're going to have your rear fuselage, you're going to have your 2 big drop tanks, then you're going to have your main fuselage. Again, everything's pretty much pre-installed in there already. Your nose gear's already in, and as you take a look around it, really is nice and beautiful the way you'd expect any Freewing model. And then I almost missed these in the box. Make sure you grab them. These 2 little foam pieces, they're for the back rear of the fuselage. We'll glue those on in step 1 coming up in a second. Now before we get started with the build, let's go through the little baggie. So again, you're gonna have a lot of your plastic bits and peripherals like the pitot tube, things like that, but the most important are the screws. So we have 15 screws in total and only 3 different sizes. So as I lay them out here, you're gonna have 8 screws that are 10 millimeters long, but they're a little thinner, and these are gonna be for the main landing gear. Each landing gear will get 4 screws, so those 8 will go right to those. Then you have 5 screws. These are going to be for your main wings and your vertical stab. 1 screw for the vertical stab will go in underneath, as you'll see in a little bit. And then you'll have 2 screws to attach the wings. No glue for those portions. And then these 2 little smaller screws, they're going to also be for the vertical stabilizer. They'll screw in on the top part. So it's really simple. You're really hard to get them confused. But here they are laid out for you. Now, let's get on to the build. So step 1 is assembling the fuselage. You're going to be attaching your rear fuselage piece to the front fuselage using the included foam tack glue. Now, one thing I like to do when you could just glue it on and stick it right there, no problem, but I like to score the foam a little bit first. I saw George Baker doing this with the L39 in Null in the Fall, and obviously other people do it. It's definitely allows the glue to attach a little stronger, a little better, just to give you that extra security. So the first thing you're gonna do, again, after you score it up, apply the glue pretty liberally. Then you're gonna attach it to the front fuselage portion. And then what I like to do, you want to pull it apart, you want to see the stringy, you want to introduce a little air into the mixture. Wait about 90 seconds before you push it on for the final attachment. And then you're going to use those 2 foam pieces that were hidden in the box a little bit, make sure you find them. They're going to finish off the fuselage. They glue in on each side. So they only fit one way, and you can easily tell which way they fit by their design, and one side has the yellow and white decals on it, the other side doesn't. So once you get those glued on, you can score them as well before you glue them, but once you're glued on, then you're all done with step 1. Taking you to step 2, we're going to be installing the vertical stabilizer or the rudder, and that's going to be done with 3 screws. But very first you want to do is find your servo leads, because there is a rudder servo already attached. You're going to find one end on the vertical stabilizer, find the other end, which is taped inside the fuselage. You just want to pull those out, get those connected, and then you want to make sure you got a nice snug fit. So once you put it in there, then you'll see where the screws line up. So the first thing I did was screw in the 2 top screws. Those were those smaller screws. There's only 2 of them that come in the bag, and this is where they go, 1 on each side. And then once you get those on, then you want to flip your model over. So I used a cradle here to do that. And you need a little bit of a long screwdriver because you're going through the rear fuselage all the way into the hole, and that'll help secure the back part of the vertical stabilizer. And once you get that screwed in, you're all done with step 2. Now for step 3 is going to be installing your main landing gear. This is a very simple process. Each wing has a landing gear for each one. Just make sure you line them up right. You can see that the landing gear will only fit one way for each wing, and then you're just going to basically drive in the 4 screws. So these were the original 8 that I showed you. They're the thinner 10mm screws, and there are 8 of them. So 4 for one landing gear, 4 for the other, and once you got those screwed in, you're all done. Step 4 now is going to be installing the main wing. So we are almost completed here. We'll start with the carbon spar. I like to put that through the fuselage first. And now you're going to see on the back of the fuselage, you'll see 2 servo leads coming out. Now those are not for the aileron and the elevator. Remember, this is an elevator setup, so one of your wings is going to have a cable that says elevator, and one of your wings is going to have the servo lead. The end will say aileron. The 2 servos coming out of the fuselage at this point are for your landing gear, because there is a Y lead already in the fuselage that is connected to this landing gear, to the nose gear servo, so that all the gear works together. So you're just plugging in your landing gear servos, which you just installed in the last step, into those servo wires. But then I grabbed a Go Get 'em wire from one of the older Freewing models or a different Freewing model that I had. It just makes it easier to pull the elevator cable and the aileron cable through. But once you get them pulled through, just make sure you get that snug fit, and you'll see the 2 spars fit easily, and then the 2 plastic pieces where you're going to drive the screws in, get those to fit, and it should be a nice, snug, secure fit. So then you're going to take 2 screws for each wing, and you're going to find the 2 places where you're going to screw them in. And you see, so you're going to use 4 of those 5 screws here. 1 was already used for the vertical stab, so you should only have 4 of these left. These are the thicker 10mm screws. Drive those in, and your main wing is assembled. So step 5 is going to be all your peripherals, all the little extra bits all around the aircraft. First, we start with the nose cone. That just slides on with the magnets, as I showed you earlier. And then it just has a little front piece. I didn't even glue this piece on. I just popped it in, and it's so tight, I doubt that's ever gonna come off until I have a bad landing. I'm sure that'll break right off. Then you're gonna have your pitot tube. Again, you're just gonna use the included glue, and that glues right into the front of the cockpit. And then for the drop tanks, the pylons are inside the drop tank when you get your model, so just pull those out. It's just with magnets. They hold nice and tight, but you're gonna flip your aircraft over, and you're gonna glue those right in. And now I would wait for the glue to dry before you try to put the drop tanks back on, because you might just pull the pylon off the wing entirely, so give that time to dry. And then you're going to do all your little side plastic pieces. So you'll see the rudder has 2 plastic pieces right at the top on the vertical stabilizer, and they are hidden by the large decal. So I used a razor blade just to sort of find them, and I sliced through the decal and was able to easily place those in. You have 2 plastic bits on the bottoms of each wingtip. And again, each piece will only fit in one spot, so it's really hard to miss. And then you'll have 2 plastic pieces that go right on each side of the intakes on the main part of the fuselage. And a smaller little piece is going to go underneath the fuselage, right in front of the landing gear. And once you got all those pieces glued in, then you will have a fully assembled Freewing Mirage 2000, and you can get started with your binding, rate setup, CG, and all that goodness. Alright guys, for step 6, you're going to get your model bound. Again, this is an Elevon setup, so it will depend. How you bind it is up to the type of transmitter and protocol that you're using, so I'm sure there's tons of videos that'll help you out with that, but it is a pretty easy setup. And once you get there, then you're going to want to play with your center of gravity. So the book is recommending 520 to 530 millimeters. That is going to be back from where the wing meets the fuselage. And remember, with the Delta Wing, you can really play with that CFG. If you want to do more straight line passes, you might want to be a little more nose heavy. If you want to play with that high alpha, you might want to put the battery back in the tray, inch it back a little bit, so you can really play with that slow flight and that high alpha and really get the most out of what the Freewing Mirage can do. And then for rates, there's no flap mix or anything like that. There's no flaps on this model, so they're just calling low rates, and you can see it here in the manual. You go by that, it's a good starting point, but then obviously depending on your flying ability, you guys can choose whatever you wish. And there you have it, guys. That's the unboxing and step-by-step build of the Freewing Mirage. So while I have it here on the table, before we get out of here, I just want to plug it in, show you guys the landing gear, because I didn't get a chance to do that there. So the recommended battery size for the Mirage is anywhere from a 4,000 to 5,000, maybe a little more, 6S pack. So inside, I've got the 4,000 Admiral Pro. That's perfect for me, and you can see it is tail heavy without the battery in there. I'm going to turn on my transmitter.
Welcome to OpenTX.
You're welcome. Let's plug her in. I'm just going to place her in here. Now the battery slides pretty far back where you're going to want it, based on the CG, but we're not going to talk about that here. Let's just let's show you the landing gear while I got her out. So you do have the gear, the nose gear door is just spring loaded, so there's no single stage or anything like that. There's no extra servo running it. So that comes in, and then the main gear. Really nice, again, nice trailing link suspension. You shouldn't have a problem taking this baby off of grass or off of pavement, and just really beautiful. I got myself a gyro in here for my first flight, but I may just turn it off. There you go, so you don't have to hear it. But I'm excited to fly this thing. I've seen a couple people fly it now. We never got a chance to fly it when I was down at Jet Jam, but the first time I saw it fly was at Null in the Fall, and George made it look great. And I've been seeing tons of video of George off the Tired Iron Aviation Facebook group. If you guys haven't checked that group out on Facebook, definitely join it. It's a good group of people there, and George Baker and the entire Tired Iron Aviation group is just a great fellowship and great way to promote the RC hobby. So guys, that's going to do it though for the Freewing Mirage 2000. Again, check out the flight review. Alpha flew the heck out of this thing in that. We'll probably put up another video after we fly it. I want to take it out there and have some fun, because I think in my field is more like a fishbowl. So I think I might be able to, if it flies slow enough, I might be able to just keep it within the trees and not have to go up and over and drop in. So that's what makes it exciting for me. But guys, that'll do it. Like, share, and subscribe to all things Motion RC. Find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, find us on Hobby Squawk, and we'll see you next time.